Astonishment itself. What makes people do this? Toei Films' Hunger Strait's one of Tsutomu Mizukami's masterpieces, inspired by the Toya Maru accident and the Iwani Great Fire in Hokkaido, which actually occurred on the same day, and changing the era to just after the defeat of the war. This is a work from the period when he was transitioning from a mystery writer to a social writer. The sadness of many Japanese people living in poverty after the war is reflected in the main characters. In this movie, Junzaburo Ban, who has always been a representative of comedic actors such as Frankie Sakai, Hisaya Morishige, and Norihei Miki, appears as a serious former Hokkaido detective. And he plays a rugged detective with a Tohoku accent. I was very impressed. His acting skills were such that he was selected for the Best Supporting Actor award. Rentaro Mikuni, who won the Best Actor award, was recommended by director Uchida, who boasts that there is no one better than Mikuni when it comes to playing villains full of hypocrisy in post-war Japanese movies. And Yoshiko Sakuma was recommended for the role of Yae. However, director Uchida was adamant that the role of the prostitute could only be played by Sachiko Hidari. So it was decided that she would play the prostitute. All three were perfect for their roles, and I was impressed by director Uchida's ability to see people. In fact, of the three actors chosen by director Uchida, both Mikuni and Hidari won the Best Actor and Best Actress awards, respectively, and Jun Ban won the Best Supporting Actor award. He has terrifying eyesight. This director Tomu Uchida was the director of Miyamoto Musashi's 5-part series starring Kinosuke Nakamura during the decline of period dramas. Even now, it is a powerful historical drama. Let's get started. On September 20, 1947, about 2 years after the end of the Pacific War in 1947, two prisoners released from Abashiri prison and Takichi, Rentaro Mikuni, happened to meet in Sapporo and started working together. Their clothing was reminiscent of prison uniforms. And the historical background was 2 years after the war, when food was scarce even in daily life. And ordinary people were forced to live in such poverty that they thought they would be better off if they could eat. The prisoners are brutal, and on their way to Hakodate, they get off at Iwahoro, leave Takichi at the station, and break into a pawn shop in town, brutally murdering the family and stealing a large sum of money. Takichi, who doesn't know anything, returns to the station and continues his train journey with the two. Around this time, a fierce typhoon hits Hokkaido, causing a catastrophe in which the Seikan ferry, Saon Maru, capsizes, resulting in many casualties. Under the cover of the chaos, the three, accompanied by Takichi, board a wooden boat and attempt to escape inland by crossing the Tsugaru Strait. However, a fight breaks out on the ship. One of the prisoners tried to keep the stolen money for himself. The man sinks one of his companions into the sea and tries to kill Takichi as well. But instead Takichi pushes him into the sea and desperately rows across the strait and lands on the Shimokita Peninsula. A large sum of money stolen by the prisoners remained on the boat. Takichi decides to use the money to break free from his past poverty and misfortune. Takichi climbs a hill and burns the wooden boat to destroy his evidence. Takichi passes through villages and fields, and gets to know Yae, Sachiko Hidari, on the train he hops on. Yae, who has a kind and cheerful spirit, shares some rice balls with Takichi, who seems hesitant. Taikichi goes to Ominato with Yae, and at Yae's invitation, he stays at the brothel where she works. When Takichi, a kind-hearted man, says goodbye the next morning, he sympathizes with Yae's story and leaves her an unexpected amount of money. For Yae, this money was like a gift from God. Not only was she able to pay off her family's debt, but she was also able to cure her father's illness. She begins to worship him from the depths of her heart with her gratitude and respect. The bodies of two people who were not on the passenger list of the Saikan ferry were discovered in the sea, and the police concluded that it was a murder case. And local detective Yamazaka, Junzaburo Ban, investigated the other man who was said to have been with them, Takichi. Yamazaka chases Takichi's whereabouts to Yae, but Yae protects Takichi and lies. And Yamazaka believes her and his investigation comes to a standstill. "I don't know anyone like that," Yae said. "You won't make any money by lying." Yae felt indebted to Takichi and never thought of betraying him. Right after the war, at a time when very few people could afford to pay for a house or for my father's treatment, he did something that left us with a lot of money even after paying those bills. Do you let the police know someone just because the police are looking for them? Maybe it's natural to protect them. Yae goes to Tokyo to try to get a decent job, but the world is not so kind to him and he ends up working in a red light district. She becomes a bar clerk, but gets caught up in a fight between Yakuza gangsters, and is frightened by the relentless pursuit of Yamazaka, who travels to Tokyo to investigate, so she ends up working at a brothel to hide out. The scene in which Yae is seen fleeing in fright as the police rush to the scene of a brawl in a bar district at night simultaneously depicts the way people living in poor Tokyo at the time wandered through the bar district. Given the historical background of the story, it makes me think that it is not surprising that some prisoners would rob pawn shops. In her room at the brothel in Tokyo where she works, she takes out Takichi's nails that she had cut at the Ominato Inn and runs them over her face and neck, recalling Takichi's caress and her growing sensuality. Sachiko, who plays the role of Yae, takes my breath away with her mysterious performance. She treats Takichi's nails as if they were her personal guardian deity. She worked hard to save money and she wants to give back to Takichi. The scene in which she lies to Detective Yumisaka and the performance of Sachiko, who plays the role of Yae, who wishes to meet Takichi and say a word of gratitude, give this movie a strong sense of gravity. As expected, the actress was perfect for this role, just as director Uchida had imagined. One day, 10 years have passed, and Yae is transfixed by a newspaper article. She reported on the charity work of a certain businessman. She saw a photo of a person named Kyoichiro Terumi in a newspaper article. But that person turned out to be Takichi Inukai, whom she will never forget. Yae heads to Maizuru, Kyoto, determined to meet him and say thank you. She meets Takichi Inukai, who calls himself Terumi, in the drawing room of Terumi's house, but the man coldly tells her that he is the wrong person. There is no need to explain Takichi's feelings that he is the wrong person. But the fact that he had murdered 3 people has not been revealed to the public for 10 years since the incident. This is because Takichi, who had a strong desire to live his current life peacefully and end his life without being found out, is suddenly visited by Yae, who knows everything. For Yae, there is no way she will ever forget the person who gave her a large sum of money 10 years ago, when she was having a hard time making daily living and couldn't pay back the house debt or the medical bills for her father's illness. It is human nature for Yae to go and say thank you to Takichi, who is irreplaceable in her life. No matter how many times he tries, he won't admit that it's Takichi. Yae is about to give up, thinking that she was the wrong person. However, Yae notices that Terumi's right thumb is covered with something like a finger cut. That thumb was definitely Takichi's injured thumb, the one she cut her nails with 10 years ago. Convinced that Terumi is Takichi after all, she clings to him in her nostalgia. To her dismay, Terumi, Takichi, strangles her to death as she desperately clings to her. Takichi, who was suspicious that his girlfriend's prostitute had visited him, murdered her to keep her quiet. I can understand Takichi's feelings in this scene. But he was completely self-centered and misunderstood. Yae did not come to see Takichi as a murderer, but to thank Takichi for saving Yae's life, and that was the only reason. This was because Takichi's sense of guilt had always surrounded his heart without forgetting it. Terumi, who killed Yae, has his servant carry the strangled Yae in his car, then kills them. Throws them both into the sea, and disguises Yae's suicide. However, Detective Ajimura, Ken Takakura, of the Higashi Meijuru Police Department finds out that Terumi and Takichi are the same person from Yae's belongings. A newspaper with Takichi's photo and Takichi's fingernails, and cooperates with Yamazaka to continue to reveal the truth. They continue to ask questions. Terumi remains stubbornly silent despite the relentless pursuit of the police, but in the end, he finally finds out what Yae left behind, Takichi's nails. The newspaper that had wrapped the money Takichi had given Yae, and the money that Yae had diligently saved up. He learns the true feelings Yae had for Terumi from Yamazaka's words, which are contained in Yae's heartfelt feelings contained in the bank book, in which the bank account balance is recorded, and realizes for the first time the crime he has committed. Over the course of 10 years, there has been a big difference in the way a poor woman, who lived a life in the shadows but worked hard to repay her debts, and a man who has achieved a social status show love toward others. Terumi begins to give a statement, but the police do not believe his words. He claims that he did not kill the two prisoners and that he was not involved in the murder of the pawnshop, but the police maintain that he was responsible for the crime. And the interrogation reaches a deadlock. Yamazaka decides to return to Hokkaido. Terumi hears this from Yamazaka and asks him to take him to Hokkaido so that he can cooperate with the investigation. His request was granted, and he was sent to Hokkaido on the Saikan ferry, accompanied by investigators. However, Terumi, who was just staring at the sea while riding the Saikan ferry bound for Hakodate with Detective Yumisaka and others, committed suicide by throwing himself into the sea while holding the flowers given to him by Detective Yumisaka. When Terumi was about to jump off the deck of the ship where the detectives and the others were being taken, Detective Yumisaka instantly realized that Terumi had attempted suicide. But it was too late. In an instant, Terumi jumped into the sea. The movie ends without Terumi emerging from the sea he jumped into. Behind the ship, there is an endless trail of wakes left behind by the ship. I thought maybe the movie would end with Terumi's corpse appearing in its wake, but that wasn't the case. The music that sounded like a sutra at the end of the night was so sickening that I still can't forget the horror of it. Then, the disgusting feeling of Rentaro Mikuni, who plays Terumi and Takichi, does not try to show the sinfulness of having murdered 3 people. I have to take my hat off to Mr. Tomu Uchida for his excellent ability to see people. While listening to this scene and Isao Tomida's music, I instantly felt the karma of humans who are still unsatisfied even after collecting as many things as there are stars. Their crimes and punishments, and what trouble they cause to others. This included the difficulty of living without one, although it could easily be called religious. It was a scene that made me think about what our views on life and death are. This music and Terumi's suicide by throwing himself into the sea reflect Terumi's decision that it is not the police or the law that will punish him for his grave sin of killing 3 people, but only himself and Terumi's heart when he made that decision. I felt that it expressed exactly what it was. The bouquet was for apologize to Yae's spirit for the crime Terumi committed, but Terumi, who has not confessed to killing Yae, believes that he is lying only to himself. Far behind the boat that Terumi jumped into, cowered the Shimokita Peninsula where the noble spirit of Yae, who had spent his time wanting to say a word of gratitude to Terumi, was sleeping. Terumi surmises that he had been thinking about committing suicide ever since he asked Detective Yamazaka to take him to Hokkaido. That's probably because Terumi heard Detective Yamazaka say that Yae just wanted to meet you and thank you at the end. Until then, Terumi had boasted that he had not killed anyone. Well, everyone. I've explained the plot while adding my own feelings, but what do you think? Lastly, let's briefly think about today's theme, what makes people do what they do. Analysis from the perspective of criminal psychology shows that the criminal's family environment has a major influence, and that economic poverty and educational poverty are the main factors within that environment. Economic poverty was exactly what this movie was about, but since the setting was just after the war, the hardship of not being able to do anything without money was one of the factors that led people to commit crimes. Another reason seems to be the lack of home education. Factors that lead to crimes include parents not teaching them anything and a strong sense of loneliness. However, why do some people commit crimes and others do not, even under the same circumstances? It is easy to think that it is inevitable for everyone to commit crimes if they come from such a poor background. But the reason why the majority of people do not think so is because even under the same circumstances, the love of the parents of the family may have affected the children. If we continue this discussion, it will become long, so I would like to end here today.